Hi, everyone. We are in for a treat. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Carley Garcia. I run external affairs for Google's New York City campus. Last fall, I had the chance to meet Bob Roth, who runs the David Lynch Foundation, and learn a bit about Transcendental Meditation, which is the subject of this talk. He has brought today Russell Brand, who needs no introduction, comedian, now father, author. We're going to hear all about it, and in particular how Transcendental Meditation has affected his life. So please join me in welcoming Russell and Bob.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for introducing me.
Thank you.
Bob.
Careful.
Thank you for being here. So you seem like an unlikely friendship. Tell us how you met before we talk specifically about meditation. How did this friendship begin?
Shall I answer it or Bob? Because we'll probably have different perspectives, because perhaps there is no objective reality, merely a series of myriad interpretations and interpretations of various events. For example, in this room now, you'd say, what happened? And some people go, it was really weird, they lingered around there, but then a lady will go, no, he high-fived me, and you go, you fucked with my introduction. So already there is no objective reality, merely a series of filtered events. We met in a gay bar.
Don't tell his wife to be. No, you were working on a film.
Oh, yeah. I was working on a film. Go on, Bob, you say your version. Your version's as valuable as mine. We'll see. We can judge after.
About 7 or 8 years ago, Russell was working on a film on a documentary on happiness, and you were going all over the country, weren't you? You went to
Bloody ironic it was, because it was a documentary on happiness. It was an absolute pain in the arse. I've never been more miserable. It was meant to be a sort of scrutinising the subject of happiness and peace, but I suppose I'd been given the opportunity without fully thinking about what I would do. Sometimes there's a moment when like you have more power than you know what to do with. Oliver Stone approached me, do you want to make a documentary? I went, yeah, all right. And then I was making the documentary before fully realising what it was about. So sort of out of nowhere, I reached for the tangent happiness. And, I was in the middle of making a documentary about knowing what I was doing. E.g., this interview now, I don't know what it's about. When I was in the foyer and I was asking people, there was a lady called Jerry who needs to quit smoking. There was a man called, I think, Jerome. I met we were walking through the door. He goes, oh, you're doing a speech. And I went, what is it about? And he went, that is your job to decide.
Well, let's go there. It's a good segue. You have written a book around addictions, and coming out called Fix, coming out in September.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that title. Do you think it's good? Fix? I was wondering about practical alchemy. No, fix.
Talk about how Transcendental Meditation has helped you recover from addictions, has helped the process.
Transcendental Meditation helps as part of a process of tackling addiction. Because firstly, if there is an addiction issue, and I suppose now that I've been at university for, in my language, a fortnight, that means 2 weeks, I have the dilettante zeal, the zeal of the newly converted. I was not educated as a younger person. Only latterly have I been subject to sort of conventional education. So, by God, the vocabulary download I've been getting, I'm trying to disgorge all of it in this next 10 minutes. What I learned is you have to define your terms. Addiction, what is addiction? Right, that's how you win an argument with people. Go, what do you mean by addiction? What do you mean by secularism? What do you mean by God? What do you mean by politics? What do you mean by religion? What do you mean by counter-revolution? What do you mean by culture? Don't let anyone say anything that you don't like, that you accept, and then you can tie them up in semantics, win the argument. Bit late now, because we've all fallen foul of fascism by mistake, and we're in it. So there we go. We're going to have to deal with it. I just mean on the global political level. Nothing serious. Yeah. Addiction means, to me, a behaviour that you keep repeating and you can't stop, even if you want to. So, like if your eating is troubling you, if your sexual behaviour is troubling you, your relationship with your own work. obvious are chemical forms of addiction because the consequences are greater, particularly drug addiction because it is criminalised, as we now know, thanks to brilliant documentaries like The 13th, in some cases as a way of penalising and, marginalising and imprisoning unpopular, or perhaps you could say from a capitalistic perspective, unnecessary demographics. So for me, addiction, any behaviour that you want to stop and change but cannot. That's what addiction is. Me, I'm lucky. I crack it and smack it. It's very clear. If you're taking heroin and crack every day, it's non-negotiable. It's evident that you're a drug addict. It's not like, oh, have you got a problem with cupcakes? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you're asleep in a doorway. Something seems to be going wrong. So Transcendental Meditation, look how long it's taken me to answer this question. How annoying. The first thing you have to do is acknowledge that you've got a problem. If you don't acknowledge you've got a problem, how can you intervene in your own consciousness? You have to intervene. This is the problem. Second, you have to believe that change is possible, right? You have to be open to the possibility of new data. I'm trying to use their lexicon. Three, you need to accept external help. In my language, I was just talking to somebody called Lauren there, who's they said against the law what she was telling me. I just spoke to an anonymous person whose identity I won't reveal, who was telling me that they'd taken ayahuasca. Now, through ayahuasca, she had an experience within her own consciousness that she'd not previously encountered. Right? And some of you that have taken hallucinogens will know there's stuff inside your mind that you're not continually encountering. So step 3 of this program that I'm explaining to you, step 1, I'm fucked. Step 2, is it possible to not be fucked? Step 3, are you going to unfuck yourself using the very consciousness that got you into this position in the first place? Of course you're not. You're going to have to accept help. It could be of a divine nature or it could be of a practical nature. Do you know how you feel more powerful collectively and communally? These are the kind of relationships that have been broken down. But also, it doesn't have to be some sort of monotheistic, bloody, patriarchal, racist, biased, sexist, homophobic faith.
Is that like me? Is that why you...
Did I? Oh my God.
No, am I that guy?
Yeah, it was like neuro-linguistic programming. I went, racist!
Homophobe!
Bob has no judgment of anyone. Bob talks to us all as pure consciousness. That's how Bob sees us. He just sees the body as some sort of temporary blob.
Keep going.
All right. Okay. So step 3 is to invite into your experience a secondary agent. It could just be the help of a friend or someone with more experience than you, or it could be this program that I'm describing to you now. So 1, fucked. 2, possible to be unfucked. 3, are you going to unfuck yourself using the thing that fucked you up in the first place? Of course you're not. So the 4th step is you make an inventory of your behaviours and you start to analyse how you got yourself in this situation. Now, having inventoried, and then in the final parts of the program, start to make amends to all of the different people you've harmed, you make a decision to remain conscious. I've noticed we have a propensity to go unconscious. One could say that the times we're living in are an example of people going on unconscious en masse. People are not aware of why they are in fear, of why they are in pain, and are nominating erroneously vulnerable portions of society as the target for their blame and condemnation. If we awaken consciousness, people will know that what they're experiencing is their own fear, their own pain, and their own anguish, which can only be induced and elicited by people that have huge amounts of power. That's the powerless people can't inflict pain on others. Only powerful people can do this. So my point is this. The Transcendental Meditation comes in, and necessarily preluded by what I just said, is because, in my view, you can't just start transcending to another dimension if you've not dealt with your behavioural, material, and psychological problems. This is how I found it. Not all of you are as fucked up as me, I hope. I had to do a lot of work before I was at the point of getting into Transcendental Meditation. Once, having done this work and continuing to do this work because my mind resets to psychotic with every dawn, the way that I use transcendental meditation is that I have like my friend there was saying about ayahuasca, an aspect of my consciousness which is not biochemical, which is not my drives. Well, it might be biochemical. We've not fully analysed the neurology. I mean, fuck knows, I'm not a neurologist, but an aspect of myself that is not my identity, my memories, my fears, and my desires. I feel like I can commune with. It's a pretty good experience, particularly for someone who's not allowed to take heroin anymore. It's good to have something that takes me out of this world, takes me out of this body, helps me to connect to love, helps me to connect to creativity. For me, it's a component of my recovery from addictions, my ongoing recovery from addictions. But for those of you that don't have such explicit and obvious or evident problems with substance misuse or other behavioural problems, I suppose transcendental meditation might just give you a home inside your heart, a home inside yourself, so you don't just feel lost and adrift in this world, looking for redemption and satisfaction through material means, which will never ever work for you. Sorry to break it to you.
How do you really feel?
You're now a father, and so how does the meditation and sort of the transformation you just talked about influence your fatherhood now that you're a dad?
It affects everything because it means I'm present and awake and aware for my daughter. It's amazing. I mean, I don't know how it practically applies because it's like doing yoga or doing exercise. I suppose with exercise you'd go, all right, I'm able to lift things over a wall. Perhaps you're a cat burglar. But transcendental meditation means the crucible of my consciousness is amending. So all things, like consciousness is not just one more phenomena, it is the seat of all phenomena. What is it that experiences the beingness of you? What is it that experiences your body, your senses, your feelings? Well, if this is affected by transcendental meditation, and I reckon other forms of meditation, but we're here on the David Lynch ticket, so let's say transcendental meditation. I feel like Krishnamurti said, didn't he, Krishnamurti? Truth is a pathless land. For each of us, it's our own route, it's our own path, you know? But there are techniques, there are tools, there are doctrines and dogma, and not all of them are prejudicial, biased, and awful. Some of them are very, very beautiful and are journeys to God. So Bob, who I met in this gay bar some time ago, terribly drunk, tequila shots lined up on either shoulder, like little glass parrots.
I'll translate this in a moment.
Don't translate it,
Okay,
Bob.
it's fine. It's good. It's
All
good.
language is already, it's already abstract.
Yeah.
It's already
So
abstract.
continue how we met.
It's already an abstraction. These people talk in binary. They probably already, they're translating this into zeros and ones as I'm talking. 00111 000. There's got to be an algorithm for this. At some point we'll be replaced. And no matter how we strive for perfection in the cyber world, still you have to go in an elevator, come around a fire exit, walk across a room because of the realities of life. No matter how technologically advanced we get, still it's hard to get that soap to come out at the right time and the water. No matter how advanced we come through technological means, still the stalls of the bathroom, the toilet door only goes to there and ends there. So it's like you're just having like you're shitting behind a plank. Hello. Hello, I'm vulnerable. We will ever be flesh, we will ever be carnal, we will ever be led by our desires and our madness, but who will negotiate within us? Who are you going to have negotiate for you when the demons come, when the darkness comes, when the president comes? Who will you turn to?
So I want to ask Bob to do some translation,
Yeah, go on,
but
get Bob to do what you like.
but-
He's lovely. Bob's very. In a minute, once Bob starts talking, you'll be praying for the sane one to start again.
One more question for the sane one. Comedy. One more question for you. Comedy. How has meditation informed your comedy or helped your comedy?
It's helped it a lot because I think that comedy is the continual revelation that this material dance that we are engaged with is secondary and not real. You know that because I'm assuming everyone creates these sort of secondary cyber dimensions. And like in that game Assassin's Creed, the office that you work in before you go off to do the assassinations, I feel like this is that place. I don't know. Like in Assassin's Creed, what I like. Anyway, how it affects comedy is the acknowledgement that the reality, the material reality that we're all engaged in now, you know, oh, hello, Bob, oh, no, I hope I'm not talking too much, oh, are you okay? It's all bullshit. It's not real, is it? None of it's real, we're all going to die. We are going to actually die. Maybe not the consciousness that's experienced, like, you know, maybe not that, please God, but the individual identity, the biography, it's all going. So this is a game, this is a dance. Comedy is the revelation of that, it's the understanding of that, it's the continual acknowledgement of when you're going, hey, you're out of order, that part of you's like, it doesn't fucking matter. None of it matters. Like, oh, you broke my heart. Something in you will go, it's not real, it's not real. Something in you knows already. Something in you knows you can overcome the trauma of your childhood, the heartbreak, the pain, the loss. Something in you knows that you have not separated yourself from the eternal and the infinite, that you are good enough, that you don't need to be ashamed, that you don't need to be afraid, that we can build worlds from our imagination. Something in us knows this already, and it's trying to realize itself. Get out of its fucking way. So it helps comedy because it just makes me think nothing's real, so everything's funny.
So Bob, help us a bit with a framework here and how we can...
Anybody help? Anybody
And
help?
how we can practice transcendental meditation.
First of all, I want to say that first time I met Russell was in a bar in New York.
Told ya?
Yeah. And I had been called, it's interesting, a friend had called me up and said that a producer was working on a documentary on happiness, and I had taught this woman to meditate, and she said that, and now she was helping Russell to produce this documentary on happiness. And she said, Russell Brand is interested in talking with you and possibly seeing if meditation could have a role in happiness. And so I didn't know who Russell was at the time, particularly.
I'm still trying to work it out.
Yeah, I know. And so I talked to some friends, and they said he's incredibly funny, he's very funny, but meet with him before you do this, invest this time, and see if he's going to take this seriously or not. So I met him in a bar, and noisy, and he came right up to me, and he said, "Are you going to teach me transcendental meditation?" And I said, "How much time do you have?" Because it takes an hour a day over 4 days, and this deep and beautiful and very funny man got tears in his eyes, and he said, "I've been searching for the timeless my whole life. I have as much time as you'll give me." And I taught him, and when I instructed him, I remember looking over as he was meditating, and I thought, he doesn't have to be hearing this. He's one of the most profound, honest people. Am I just going to do this?
Just write this down while you're saying it.
It's hard enough.
I'm enjoying these
without you.
adjectives.
Yeah.
Profound, honest.
No, he is. Just this is 1 in a million. So, and I've been very
That's
fortunate.
not that good statistically. They deal with numbers.
1 in a million is not that much. Not that much. Am I talking too long?
6 billion people. No,
Is
you're
it?
not
Okay.
talking too long, especially with more of the profound stuff about how great I am. That was going over really well. The lady wanted to know about how
I'm
transcendental
going to get to
meditation is
that.
going to help
I'm
them.
going to get to that. I wanted to answer this
Don't
question.
be so meandering. Be more like me, succinct. Like a harpoon.
It's like being a substitute teacher in a 2nd grade, and everybody's on Ritalin.
That's a terrible drug. That should be banned. Ruin my vocabulary.
The reason I said that is because Russell has, and I'm going to get to this, but this is David Lynch Foundation. That's the filmmaker David Lynch, and I'm trying to get him to come here. Twin Peaks is airing for 25 years later on Sunday. And Russell has been more instrumental in bringing the effects of meditation to 500,000 kids and women and children who are victims of of sexual assault, and also veterans. When we talk about transcendental meditation, to answer your question, how many people here have tried some form of meditation? Yeah, like mindfulness? Yeah, lots. So I like to use an analogy, and the analogy is you're on a little boat and you're in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and all of a sudden you get these giant 30, 40-foot high waves. And you could rightfully think the whole ocean is in upheaval. Jeez. But if you could do a cross-section of the ocean out there, you'd realize that there's these little 30-foot waves, but the ocean in reality is over a mile deep. And while the nature of the ocean can be very turbulent and tsunami-esque on the surface, in reality, the ocean at its depth is silent. And so we say, is this okay?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it, because isn't it interesting how the ocean continually recurs in mythology, folklore, and literature as the ultimate metaphor for consciousness?
Yes.
Any of you that know about Jung or the work of Joseph Campbell will know that this motif of the ocean is continually used. So it's a very accurate analogy that you're using, and that the stillness is perennial, the stillness is constant, the higher frequency vibrations and seeming movement is temporal. I like that, that's good shit.
So I met Russell at a bar. No. Every time you interrupt, I'm starting over.
Oh, fucking hell. It's like school. Right, because of what Russell done, you've all got to stay behind. Oh, thanks, Russell.
No, you have to
I
write.
didn't make that rule.
Yeah. Anyway, the analogy is to the mind, and the surface of the mind, this is analogous to the waves, and it's been called the monkey mind, and I like to call it the gotta mind. That's the waves. That's I gotta do this, and I gotta do that, and I gotta call him, and I gotta call her, and I gotta make a list, and I gotta find the list, and I gotta make a new list, and I gotta slow down, but I gotta get going, and I gotta get up, but anybody have that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that is that. And every human being has, no matter what, we all have this desire at some point to say, God, I'd like to have a little, like a break in the noise. Mm-hmm. I'd like to have a little inner calm, a little inner clarity, a little inner peace, and not in a sort of religious connectedness, creativity, something new. And so the operative word there is inner. And the question is there such a thing as an inner? And if so, how do you get there? So in TM, which we're talking about, but I have to pause and say I am not a siloing person. I've been teaching TM for 45 years. In fact, today is my 45th anniversary of teaching Transcendental Meditation. And I started at the age of 61. So, so in this particular so other meditations have, it's not a question of I'm better, different outcomes. And if there's time, we can talk about it. Research shows different outcomes. They have different values, purposes. But in this meditation, there's nothing to believe in. And we hypothesize that every human being has deep inside of us right now, at the deepest level, transcendent level of the mind, there's a level of the mind that is already calm and settled and peaceful, yet wide awake, and it is unbounded, and it is transcendent. It is my own nature, though. It's not, you don't have to believe in it, it's there, and we've lost access to it. And in and here's one other thing. Is this too much talk?
No,
okay. Because
You like that in sex, Bob? Is this okay?
No,
Is that right?
I have to say why. No, I want to say why I do it. No, I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm on the other side.
Is it hygienic to go in the mouth after?
Yeah.
Come on! Not real! Not real! Limitless consciousness!
The reason I do that is I'm usually on her side.
Sorry.
And I
forgot about your grace in that moment. I was just thinking about Bob and derailing him for my own amusement.
Can't derail. The reason I do that is I'm often on your side, and I say, okay, you've got 3 minutes to talk, and then the person goes on for like half an hour, and I'm like, oh, will you shut up? So,
yeah, well done. You're doing really well.
Yeah.
How's your day going? Yeah. God's sake, Bob.
So what Transcendental Meditation does is it gives access to that transcendent level of the mind. There are mindfulness approaches which have their value, which is to either try and clear the mind of thoughts, and that's called focused attention, and that's trying to stop waves on the surface, and that creates something called gamma brain waves, which are 20 to 60 cycles per second, usually in the left frontal lobe. Then there's open monitoring, which are many mindfulness approaches, and there are many, as you know, and that's body scans, and that's mindful eating, and mindful talking, and mindful walking, and mindful everything, and that's to just dispassionately observe your thoughts to bring calm. And in Transcendental Meditation, it's a technique that doesn't mind waves because we know that they exist. It just gives effortless access to the use of a mantra, but not concentrating on the mantra, use of a sound that gives access to that transcendent level, And I'm about to turn this back over to Russell, but the point, because I'm a sort of a skeptical person by nature. I'm like a science guy. And you could hear me say all that stuff about a transcendent level, and you could say, yeah, right. Where's the proof? And the proof, other than your own experience, comes from science. And brain research, scans, and EEG shows that when you have that experience, that experience of your own silent level of the mind, the whole brain electrical activity, the EEG signature, is of alpha 1. It's 8 to 10 cycles per second, and that's a state of deep, deep inner calm and wakefulness And one last thing, then I'm going to turn this back over to you guys, and that is, I think one of the most important elements of this is when the mind settles down during TM, the body gains a state of rest in many regards deeper than the deepest part of deep sleep. And what does that rest do? You ever heard of cortisol? Cortisol is a stress hormone. When Russell and I were ready to go out here and just talk, there's some anxiety, and the adrenals secrete cortisol, and it makes us feel anxious. And it's terrible. Too much cortisol undermines sleep, undermines the immune system, digestion, everything. A good night's sleep reduces cortisol levels by 10%. 20 minutes of TM every time reduces cortisol levels 30 to 40%. So it's a profound rebooting of the system. Now I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to open things up to questions, so please, if you have a question for Russell or Bob, begin to assemble at the mics. But one question first about something you both raised, time. How do you find the time in both of your busy lives to do this? I mean, you mentioned it's an hour-long commitment for...
No, to learn it, it takes an hour a day over 4 days. It's practice 20 minutes twice a day.
So,
that's the ideal. That's the ideal.
Russell, you're traveling all over the world. You're in different time zones. You have really busy days. How do you construct this into your day? Walk us through, like, where does it fall?
It's not really that hard. You know, it's just like sort of cleaning your teeth or something. It's just like something that you ultimately feel that it's nutritional and beneficial. Why not? 20 minutes. Think of all the things you do. Think of the times you vacantly stare at fucking Facebook or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, instead of doing, when I do those things, I sort of think, have you meditated yet? I also, you know, I try to, it's in a way, it's inserting, I don't know, sort of a checkpoint in my mind of, have you meditated before you look at pornography, which I never do now, ever. Gone, thank God. I mean, bloody
He has
stuff.
a wonderful wife. Wife to be.
Don't worry about all that.
Yeah.
I'm talking, like my Google search would tell a different story.
Yeah.
But like if you put into your own mind, like, right, am I really going to eat this shit food? Am I really going to spend time looking at like Twitter or whatever it is? You still will do it. I still do those things. I still find material things, titillating things, interesting and intriguing. But I try to do other stuff also. Have I done something for other people? Have I been kind to someone today? Have I gone out of my way for people? Have I meditated? It ain't that hard, is it? Like 20 minutes, for God's sake, twice a day. What else are you going to do? It's nice to have, in a sense, if you're spending all your time ignoring the reality of your life, i.e. mortality, you know, this is a good way to negotiate with that. It's not hard. It's not a hard thing to feel. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. The morning one I always do. The second one can be a drag. The second one you think, oh, fucking hell, just sit down and do nothing for 20 minutes. So that's why sometimes it feels like that, because I think this is what I'd be saying if I was a meditation teacher. Not that I want to teach you how to teach meditation after you've been doing it for 45 years on the very anniversary of that day, like some cruel bastard bullying a widow. It's like everyone always says, oh, I can't meditate because my mind's always chattering. Like, well, fucking hell, what do you think's going on in here? I only say 10% of the things I think.
1%.
And like, it's just, that's what it is to have a mind. It's relentlessly going on all the time. That's what it fucking does. Like, so my experience of it is like, it's like I sit down and I go, oh, right, I'm going to meditate. Am I all right? Fucking hell. Right, shut my eyes for a bit. Oh, that was terrible, that thing that happened when I was a kid. Oh, it'd be good if I could do that. What if I was a king? Right, like, oh, no, mantra. You know, should they make any more Batman movies? Or that mantra. So I return. I tell you, here's the, you might like this analogy. I don't know if you see that movie about that man that walked a tightrope between the towers. Do you remember that? Like, and you think, how did he get that cable across there? Well, you know what they do, right? Is they fire an arrow with a very, very thin thread, and then tied to the end of the thin thread a slightly thicker string, and tied to the string thicker till it's rope, till it's cable. First get the arrow through, then get the thin thread, then it becomes thicker and thicker, the connection. So first the arrow is sitting down making the decision, the thin thread, the initial mantra. Don't be surprised if your mind keeps going back, you know, rattling on. That's what that's what it does. That's its job, isn't it? It's doing that. There's a virus in the mind. The ego is a virus in the mind. Come on, let's let people ask questions, don't you think?
No, I want to.
They're all fucking stuck here.
One last thing.
This might be mandatory. Is this voluntary? Tell me this is voluntary. Oh no, it's mandatory. This is punishment. This is for people who, right, because of that bad bit of programming, you've got to sit and listen to them motherfuckers talk about meditation. Please. I want to go in one of them side rooms and have a massage. I'll be in there in a minute.
Go ahead.
Thank you guys both so much for being here. My question is really about how you view TM versus like other meditation offerings like Headspace, which is an app. Like, do you view like TM as kind of like the rigorous, like talking through it type of meditation? Or like, can you talk about how you view that versus like the other standardized forms?
You do it.
Okay, so for a long time, scientists thought I've been at this 45 years, so all meditations was just bunk. And then, no, it was ridiculous. And then some initial research came out on TM in the early 70s showed that it changed brain waves and reduced high blood pressure. And then there's been more and more data coming out on mindfulness and other techniques showing benefit. So then it became, well, all meditations are this. First of all, meditation did nothing. Now all meditations are the same. And now with brain research, it's become quite clear that there are 3 basic types of approaches that are based on technique, what you're actually doing when you sit and close your eyes. And as I said earlier, one is a concentration form of meditation. So if you're controlling your mind and trying to clear the mind of thoughts, that's that focused attention, and that's gamma brain waves. And then open monitoring that's theta brain waves, 5 to 7 cycles. That's sort of dream, sort of pre-onset dream. And then TM, which is transcendent. My feeling is, I don't like when people silo. I do this Vipassana, and so I don't have to do that. Or I do loving kindness meditation, and it's a world, there's a lot going on out there, and we should learn evidence-based skills. They have different techniques. There's a different, in TM, the beautiful thing about this is you don't have to clear your mind of thoughts. You're just, that idea, oh, that kid's a hothead and he's boiling over with rage. So we know the mind can be really a hot system. And we also know, oh, cooler minds will prevail. Cool, calm, and collected. And so in this meditation, we just allow the thinking mind to just settle down. So when Russell says he has I have a ton of thoughts in meditation. It's just, are they up here, or are they more on that transcendent level? And so what TM does is it provides deep rest, which gets rid of stress and tension and anxiety. But these other approaches, they have their good cognitive training. I don't know if I answered your question, but okay. Yeah, oh, and as far as apps go, it remains to be seen. Headspace, Muse, I haven't really seen, I'm like, I want to see rigorous data. I don't want someone to say, it does this. I want to see published, peer-reviewed studies, and so far I haven't seen that.
No, I think you covered it, mate, innit?
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Jared. First, I commend you for your public and policy work on addiction. I think It's fantastic. As a fellow in recovery as well, my question is, addiction as a whole, there's this massive stigma. We know that heroin death is growing at record rates. It's the biggest it's ever been. And anonymity, obviously, is a spiritual principle in most 12-step programs. But I also think it can I think people being vocal and public about their recovery can also help the stigma in public. Where do you see us going from here?
Well, I think that's a good question. What's your name, mate?
My name is Jared.
All right, Jerry.
Jared?
Jared. I've got accent
Jared with the D.
Thanks,
Jared.
man. Jared. Cheers, Jared. Don't want to overdo it now. Jared. Like a bullet. Jared. Well, what I think, mate, is that's a good point, because it is stigmatized, because it's a crime. So if you take drugs, you're a criminal. And crime's, it's meant to be a bad thing. It's not really, is it? I mean, if you can't cope with your psychological state and you need to take drugs, you're going to take drugs. I mean, you're going to do what you've got to do, aren't you? The principles of anonymity, for me, that's not my job to decide, because those fellowships to which you refer have their traditions in place because there were good reason in the 30s when those fellowships were established to protect the members and from the stigma of addiction that you speak of, and also to stop, because a lot of people that have addiction issues, and I don't want to blow the lid off this thing, also are wild egomaniacs. So it's good that no one can come to the forefront and start claiming to be Captain Addiction, But what I think is the destigmatization does end in conversation. I mean, like if you look at like various forms of civil rights and the progress that's been made in the last half century particularly, then you can see that the bringing the conversation to a public level does alter perception. Now, what I reckon is the answer to your question, Jared, is that all of us are like on the spectrum of addiction. All of us have some behavior that we would like to alter. All of us are reliant and dependent necessarily on some sort of material thing or behavior because we're living in a world that doesn't nurture our spiritual needs. And you know, if you're a man like me in recovery, the reason you took drugs in the first place was to address this feeling of pain, this feeling of worthlessness, this feeling of loss and sadness within you. And it works, doesn't it? Like drugs works for a while. Good technique. Heroin will park pain momentarily. Some days I miss it still. But like ultimately it was a placeholder for this sense of connection that can only be attained through, you know, for me, I think the meditation is a component. But like, you know, what does it matter if you're like, oh, I'm really like a holy spiritual guy, and but your life isn't about, on some level, altruism, philanthropy, and basic kindness. So what I reckon, Jared, is what we've got to do, mate, is people that are straight up plain junkies of the bog standard variety, you and I, we have to talk to other people where it's food, sex, gambling, whatever, and just say, like, you know, get on board with the whole mentality of recovery, because all of us need to be free from something. All of us are reliant on something. All of us have some sort of 3 a.m. shame that we wake up with, like, oh God, I'm not good enough. And, like, we live with it and harbour it and try to build a version of ourselves that we can put out into the world that's manageable and livable, some secret apology of a self. So I reckon that we take as read that everybody is suffering in some way, and we use our own recovery as an example, because I have found myself that since getting clean from drugs and alcohol, I've had to deal with food, I've had to deal with sex, I've had to deal with narcissism, I've had to deal with fame, money, all of the false idols that I thought that would heal me, every single one that I greeted like a prophet. Yet when the true thing came, when the connection came, when the recovery came, this is when I become skeptical. What, helping other people, sitting still, being quiet for 20 minutes a day? Fuck off. Give me some smack, give me a blowjob. You know? In reverse order. Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to take ages. But they say every man that knocked on a brothel door was looking for God. And, you know, God as a placeholder for connection, for union, for togetherness, to transcend the illusion of our separateness, to transcend the illusion of these hierarchies, to transcend the illusion of our insignificance, to transcend our pain. So I think, mate, it's just by crack on with what you're doing. Don't be embarrassed about being in recovery. You've done very well. How long have you been doing it?
7 years.
That's fucking amazing. Well done, mate. Nice work.
Thank you. Thanks, God.
Hello. Thank you for coming also. I had a kind of a two-part question. I know that you... Oh, I'm sorry.
The two-part question.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Godfather 1 and 2. We're not doing 3.
Yeah, so I know you were talking about being skeptical, and I was wondering, have you ever experienced, either of you, like a lot of skepticism in the benefits of meditation? And also, do you find that, would you think that people who go and turn to drugs initially, do you think that they would be able to be deterred from them by meditation?
Go ahead. I'll start.
Not you have a go on, and I'll drink this water for a bit, and then I'll step in and say something flash.
From addiction, from a brain chemistry standpoint and from brain functioning, when you have an experience over and over again, so you're looking for something, you're anxious or stressed or lonely or whatever, so then you have the experience of heroin or anything. It activates the pleasure centers in the brain. One of them is the nucleus accumbens, but it also, you could say, distorts or traumatizes the way the neurons, the way the brain is functioning. But then you go down that cycle. Oh, I'm unhappy, so I need to keep having that experience. One of the problems with a type of program for addiction is if you just tell a person they can't take the drug but don't change the brain functioning, the circuits, then they're always going to, you know, the moment they're off that 1 month recovery program, or whatever, they're just going to go back to it, or they're going to sublimate it to something else. The wonderful thing about, at least I know because we work with recoverers, with addicts, is when you transcend, when your mind settles down to that state of inner calm, there's a change. There's the alpha 1 brainwave, the whole brain resets itself. All the different parts of the brain begin to communicate with each other. And they say in meditation, anyway, I won't say it. The neurons that fire together during meditation in a healthy way wire together out of meditation. So you have a healthier, more integrated, more connected experience. And so it does help override those impulses. But it's not overnight. And Russell says, and I agree, it's not the only way, but I think it's an important component. So yes, it can change and transform the way. And by just reducing anxiety and increasing something called serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter, the happiness neurotransmitter. And when we're depressed, then we have low levels of serotonin. It increases serotonin in that experience. Now you make it better.
No,
Flash.
that was brilliant. Don't be so silly.
Don't be so silly.
Well, I am a drug addict, and I'm not taking drugs for ages now.
How long?
14 years. Not this is a competition with Jared. Not saying I'm literally twice as good as you at not taking drugs in a not taking drugs contest. Who's going to watch that? It definitely works, mate. Bob's right about, like, you've got to change your brain and you've got to change your behaviour. But, like, when you think about it, like, sort of when you first get clean, like, meditation at that point, you're like, fucking hell, it's just enough to not be taking drugs, frankly. So what was the part 2 of the questions? I want to make sure that we've covered every single thing you've ever wanted to know about everything.
Yeah, I was just asking about skepticism also. Like, have you ever faced...
People will be skeptical.
Yeah.
Always. This is an inevitability. Skepticism is a good thing. People should have doubt. It stops people being beleaguered and tricked by the good many people that want to beleaguer and trick us and keep us stupid and to keep us as passive consumers. Skepticism is a very, very good thing. But you shouldn't be skeptical about your own ability to change yourself. You shouldn't be skeptical about your own ability to fulfill yourself. You have this ability. So yes, we face skepticism. I face my own skepticism is the biggest challenge. But like, luckily, because like Jared, I have support of other people. So when I'm feeling crazy and weak and vulnerable, what happens most days, they go, "Are you all right, you? Don't worry too much. Taking life too seriously." You know, so like it's a good component. The skepticism is okay. I say give it a try.
And I would just add that the nice thing about this is I encourage people, be 100% skeptical. It's not based on belief. You can be skeptical about gravity and ball drops. You can be skeptical. You can be a believer in electricity. It doesn't make a 100-watt bulb a 120-watt bulb. So if it's real and it's natural and it's actual, then it doesn't require any philosophical construct or belief system. And that's, at least this meditation doesn't require that. So skeptical is great.
That's great. We have time for 2 more questions.
How do you know how long they'll take?
It could be just one.
Up to 2 questions.
I'll try to be
Because some people are going to work, aren't they? You see them go. Sorry to interrupt you, sorry.
It's okay. I think Bob's used to it. Hi, my name's Fizz. For Russell's enunciation, that's F-I-Z-Z.
Saucy bastard, isn't he? Does he like this at work every day, Fizz?
We talked a little bit about the proof behind the pudding, right? So it seems that 2 of the biggest ways are, one with incredible case studies such as Russell, and also the science behind the neurology, right? So hoping you could kind of expand a bit more about, the impact it has on the brain, right? Until recently, most neurologists assumed that at puberty our brains stop developing, but research shows now that our brains continue to develop, structurally, functionally, and also chemically, kind of the long-term impacts of meditation. And also, given all the proof and recent studies, curious to hear about at the individual level and the society level, what's holding us back from really adopting meditation as a whole, right? Not only for addicts, but for everyone.
I'm going to talk about the brain, and I'm going to let you talk about the thing. So they used to say, oh, we use 10% of our mental potential. That's not true. And they say, well, meditation awakens. You can, anywhere you put your attention, like if you play violin for 30 years, this part of your fingers, in that part of your brain, you're developing gray matter. You're developing connections. But more important is the communication with different parts of the brain. So you have the prefrontal cortex. That's the frontal lobe. That's the CEO of your brain, and that's like the size of your fist. And that is judgment, planning, decision-making, sense of self, actual ethical reasoning, problem-solving, innovative thinking here. Then you have another key part, which is the amygdala, which is the fear center. And that's fight or flight or freeze. Now, what happens is stress, fatigue, drugs, alcohol takes the frontal lobes offline. Just what it does. Person can't drink and drive because that takes this offline and it impairs judgment. And what gets activated or aroused is the amygdala. So what happens during, at least I know TM, is when the mind settles down, you can see the connections, the communication between the front of the brain. Actually, there's 14 different sections of the frontal lobes. All these connections here and connections from the front of the brain and the back of the brain and the left and right hemisphere, all the different parts of the brain begin to communicate in meditation and because of neuroplasticity out of meditation. And so that's why you see we offer this meditation in schools all over the world, particularly underserved schools, and you see these kids for free. You see these kids, their grades go up, you know, they graduate, but more importantly, they're happier. They're happier. So I think that what you're seeing is, I think the cutting edge research on all meditations is what's going on in the brain. And again, it's not some miraculous part of the brain that we'd never used before. It's all about communication. Stress, fatigue, rips those connections apart. Transcending puts them back together. And now why is it taking so long?
I think you've covered it, because look at these two men, they have questions.
Okay, they say in science, science progresses one funeral at a time. And I think what you're seeing is an old system, like when I was teaching meditation 40 years ago, the word meditation was, wow, no thank you. And now younger generations, oh, I'd like to try that, or I tried it and I couldn't do it. So it's just time.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for coming. I'm a parent. Carley's a parent. You're a new parent. How does TM help you with being a good parent?
Probably makes me more patient and more present. So those things, but it helps in all areas of my life. Your t-shirt says you still miss James Baldwin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Could do with him. I think it helps with everything. I think it helps with everything. It makes me feel more connected to her and more present. So, you know, but it's sort of true of everything in my life, really. It's, I suppose, making the decision that you are twice a day going to put aside 20 minutes to do something that's not stimulating in that kind of way. You know, like that's not just physically stimulating. I think it's a good decision to make. As a parent, as a non-parent, don't wait till you've got children. You better get fucking relaxed before they turn up. That's my experience.
Some little kid told me, some little kid, his father, I was teaching a father and son, and the father was saying, I can't meditate. And a little kid, 12 years old, he said, Dad, there's 1,440 minutes in a day. You don't got 40 minutes for yourself? So,
get to bed.
Yeah.
For 590 minutes.
Yeah.
First
thing in the morning, you just get up 20 minutes earlier. The afternoon, people just prioritize it as best they can.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Congratulations on your beard.
Oh, thank you very much. This is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm expecting a child, 2 children actually next month.
Bloody hell,
Been
well done.
clean for 6
Same woman,
going
I'm
on 6
hoping.
months. 1 lady, 2 kids, yeah.
Badass.
Yeah, and when they arrive, I mean, they're already this much, so we're not doing the whole from beginning to this where they're here. So, but when they arrive, like mental health is a very important part of it, and it's not a very important thing in this country. And like Google makes a really safe space. Obviously, you guys are here. We're talking about this. This is a great thing, but the outside world is not like that. So, I'm just wondering what your guys' take is on the like socioeconomic access to this kind of thing. Not every place is Google, and my concern is not them, because I'm confident in myself and my wife and our ability to bring them up, but everybody else around them. So obviously, like pushing this stuff out to the world is very important to all of us here. I just want to know what your take is on access to it. At the top of the thing you mentioned, the president, which is not, this country's not very good at like that kind of thing. I don't know how it is in London, but I imagine probably slightly better, but just your take really quick on access to it from a socioeconomic perspective.
I understand, my friend. Okay. We talk a lot about extremism and fundamentalism with regard to people that are in smaller groups. Like, oh, they're extremists. These people are fundamentalists. But we are living in a fundamentalist and extremist system. The economic system that we live in it's extreme to prioritize profit above all else. The reason that I feel extremely optimistic is because all of us here are potential units and cells of transformation and change. Now, admittedly, if you're in an economically deprived situation, whilst the David Lynch Foundation does make incredible efforts to go into inner city schools, it's one of their priorities, in fact, that there is a limit to the efficacy of philanthropy and altruism. At some point, there does need to be sort of state level, global level change, which requires a paradigm shift in the way we regard economics and the redistribution of resources. That has to happen. You understand this. This is embedded in your question. But the positivity comes from the fact that all of us are here now. Each one of us has the ability to be effective in our own lives. Love spreads, it emanates, and I think that if we learn, to meditate, if we learn to live in a different way, then we become sort of vibrant, potent emanators of positivity. We don't have to go all giddy and start putting flowers in our hair and getting all daft. We could have a fight on our hands any day soon. But it is important to allow love into your life. Don't feel afraid of that. Transformation and change can happen very, very quickly. Dear old Bob just said, it's like science evolves or whatever, one funeral at a time. No one in this room is going to be here in 100 years, but the ideas that we have, these can change the world. They can live on. So I think, yes, have skepticism, but also allow optimism and positivity into your heart in the most basic and fundamental ways. The way that you treat one another while you're in this environment, to express your gratitude, to work in a place where people make room for meditation, where evidently, whilst this is still an organisation that has to make a profit and one of the most powerful organisations in the world, clearly there is an intention to spread some benevolence, to spread some care. And you are powerful. You are the workforce. People listen. One of the great misunderstandings of our time is that societies function this way, that the people at the top of the pyramid are the people that have the power. But this is not true. This is an illusion. Power is here. Power is on this level. If at any point you decided, fuck this guy, let's rush the stage and kill him, what am I going to do? Joke my way out of it? I'm going to fucking negotiate. This is perennial. This exists for all time. The world is there to be changed. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your time.
It's a good moment to end on. Thank you.